Okay, welcome back. We're jumping in and opening up the mouth a little further to take a better look. This is the first point where we're going to need to use the scalpel. We're going to cut into the corners of the mouth a little bit, you know, creepy Joker movie smile, like you'd expect. Gonna give ourselves some room to work. I already crunched the jawbone a little bit earlier. Unfortunately, this is going to be probably the hardest part to show you on the camera. It'll get better as we go. So, what are we looking for in here? We need to see the, oh God, yeah, we're going to need to get it more open than that. Sometimes with a fetal pig, you can actually take the scissors in and cut through the jawbone, and you often need to get enough. Ugh, gross. Oh, welcome. Okay, so if you get way back in, oh, there we go. God, that's horrifying. If you get way back in there, you can sort of start to see where the esophagus and the epiglottis are. So the epiglottis is like a little flap in here. You'll have an easier time seeing it, honestly, on the diagrams on your dissection sheet. You can also see the opening of the esophagus from here. Glottis, epiglottis. Recall from what we learned in class, the glottis is the opening of the, at the top of the trachea, at the top of the larynx, so we're above your voice box. The epiglottis is the little flap that comes down over the top. So glottis is a hole, epiglottis is a flap. The esophagus should be anterior to the glottis. So if we were looking at Piggy here, the esophagus would be towards the front, towards the ventral part of the body. The glottis would be more dorsal. I'm gonna take my glove for a second and let another guest in. Gonna go through a lot of gloves today. All right. So we looked at another thing you might think about when you're thinking about the glottis, the epiglottis, and the esophagus is their functions. If you remember, the glottis and the epiglottis are going to be mostly involved with air towards the lungs. The esophagus is going to be involved with food. So those are two different systems. Okay. So it asks us to lay the pig on one side and expose the masseter muscles, the lymph node, and the jaw. So we're going to try to be kind of efficient here. With the scalpel, you'll find that it's harder to mess it up than you might think, as long as you're not carving really deep. If you're using a sharp scalpel and you're coming in smoothly along the skin, it peels off pretty easily. I did nick the masseter a little there. You see this kind of whitish material here. That is the fascia that connects the muscle to the underside of the skin, or you can think of it as connective tissue if you prefer. So that gives us a little bit of a vantage point on, here's our masseter muscle. If we can get a little more visibility. You can always tell muscle, it'll have this deeper reddish color. Whereas if I can find the salivary gland like it wants me to, we're going to cut this piece of skin back in the way. Lymph node is going to be, I think, kind of up here. We're looking for a softer structure, and there should be a salivary gland in here. Ooh, that is making my eyes burn. So you can see the zygomatic process of the cheekbone there. Muscle will feel firm and hard, and where is, I think the salivary gland is actually going to be this kind of squishier than that. So I need to dissect it out maybe. Yeah, that's why. Okay, so back here is our salivary gland, more sort of underneath. That's what's called your parotid. Her parotid salivary gland is in there. Right, you can kind of see it's a big, you probably can't see. Give me a minute. Get that separated out. Your best tool with a system dissection like this is actually your fingers, because the connective tissue will give and the organs usually won't. So there we go. There's our salivary gland. You can kind of see it lifted out on my fingertip there. Hopefully that's somewhat clear what's going on. So this reddish circular structure here is a muscle. That's the masseter that helps close the jaw. And then below and behind it, so ventral and posterior, we have a salivary gland that's going to produce the saliva to go up into the mouth. Now the lymph node, you can see I kind of chewed up the masseter trying to get the mouth open. That's not uncommon. Yeah, I think that might be the lymph node back here. Take a second and try to dissect it out as well. So back here in this kind of yellowish mass, there's this kind of grayish material. Lymph nodes are usually grayish, so I think that is what we're looking for back there. All right. Let's see where that gets us to. Okay, I'm going to pause there, and then we're going to go take a look at the inside of the abdomen. So I'll see you guys for the next video in just a second.